Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to unpack author Brianna Wiest's totally transformative concepts on self-sabotage and emotional growth. We're diving deep into the psychology behind why we actually stop ourselves from succeeding. So get ready, because we are about to uncover a massive paradigm shift on how to finally stop standing in your own way. Okay, let's just jump right into this incredibly universal problem. You set your goals, you make these ambitious plans, and you're dreaming about a better future. You promise yourself, I am absolutely going to start that new fitness routine on Monday morning. But somehow, by Tuesday evening, you're right back on the couch, bargaining with yourself, and falling right back into the exact same fears, habits, and negative patterns. Look, if that sounds even a little bit familiar to you, you are absolutely not alone. And the insights we're about to cover, they might be exactly what you need.
In this explainer, we'll cover standing in your own way, the actual purpose of self-sabotage, mastering your emotional intelligence, transformation through daily repetition, and we'll wrap up with my final objective verdict on the book.
All right, part one, standing in your own way, the base of the problem.
You know, when we think of mountains, we usually picture these massive, physical, totally immovable obstacles out there in the real world. But here, the mountain is absolutely not an external barrier. It's actually a symbol representing your own deeply ingrained internal challenges. We're talking about fear, insecurity, emotional wounds, and those sneaky subconscious beliefs that quietly conflict with your goals. Think about, say, a chronic fear of public speaking that physically keeps you from taking a promotion, or maybe a subconscious belief that you don't deserve love, which just keeps pulling you back into the exact same toxic relationship cycle over and over. The core argument here is that lasting success requires a deep internal transformation, not just throwing more external effort at the wall. You literally have to conquer your own internal terrain first.
Moving right along to part two, the purpose of self-sabotage, flipping the script on the difficult terrain.
Okay, so here's the crucial paradigm shift. Holding yourself back is actually not a sign of laziness. Self-sabotage isn't just you being random or apathetic. According to the author, it is an automatic subconscious defense mechanism. It's the direct result of unmet emotional needs or unresolved trauma. So what does that actually mean for you day to day? Well, imagine a kid who learned to be perfectly quiet just to avoid getting yelled at in a chaotic home. Now, as an adult, that exact same person actively avoids speaking up in important meetings. When you self-sabotage, you aren't lacking motivation. Your brain is literally just trying to protect you from discomfort or uncertainty using really old, outdated tools.
Let's think about procrastination for a second. We all know that sudden, intense urge to deep clean our entire house right before a major deadline, right? Well, it's rarely about being too lazy to do the work. It's actually your brain's bodyguard, shielding you from the sheer terror that your absolute best effort might still fail. And perfectionism? That's really just a highly polished shield constructed to deflect criticism before anyone else even has a chance to judge you. Avoidance is just a deeply ingrained strategy to protect you from the pain of rejection. Understanding this hidden protective purpose is the absolutely critical first step toward giving yourself a little grace and ultimately changing the behavior.
Which brings us to part three, mastering your emotional intelligence, the tools required for the ascent.
Wiest makes it super clear that personal growth is absolutely not about suppressing your emotions or just pretending everything is fine. You can't just push the bad feelings down. First, you have to actively recognize your emotional triggers. Then comes step two, which, let's be honest, is often the hardest part. Sitting with uncomfortable feelings means feeling that anxiety physically burning in your chest. And instead of grabbing your phone to doom scroll for an hour just to numb the pain, you just let the discomfort exist until it naturally passes. Once you can actually tolerate that feeling, you can systematically develop healthier coping strategies, which is what ultimately builds lasting emotional resilience. There's a quote from the book that perfectly sums this all up. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. And man, does that matter. It's a stark reminder that if you keep looking away from your emotional pain, or if you just keep pretending your internal mountain doesn't exist, you are virtually guaranteeing that your self-sabotage will continue to pull the strings in your life. You quite literally have to face it to fix it. All right, on to part four, transformation through daily repetition, reaching the summit.
So many of us are kind of stuck in this fantasy that change just happens overnight. We're constantly chasing that unpredictable rush of sudden motivation, waiting to feel inspired before we take action. But the source material explains that lasting transformation is a highly gradual process. It's built on reliable, repetitive systems. It is all about small habits practiced daily. Every single time you choose to sit with an uncomfortable feeling instead of running away to a distraction, you're essentially casting a vote for the person you want to become. Over time, those tiny repeated votes compound, and they create an entirely new identity.
A huge recurring theme throughout this work is the idea of becoming your future self before you even achieve the results you want. We really need to stop asking the outcome-driven, wrong question, what do I need to get success? Instead, we need to ask the much more profound, identity-driven question, who do I need to become? By answering that, you make sure you align your daily, repetitive actions with the core values, the emotional regulation, and the mindset of the person who is actually capable of maintaining that success.
And finally, Part 5, the final book verdict, evaluating the journey.
So, who is this actually for? Well, this book is highly targeted. Unlike a lot of self-help books that focus purely on productivity hacks or aggressive goal setting, this one goes deep into the psychological reasons behind why we feel stuck. If you struggle with chronic procrastination, if you feel totally stuck in life right now, or if you're a personal development enthusiast deeply interested in psychology and emotional growth, this deep dive will honestly be incredibly valuable for your own personal journey.
Looking at the pros and cons. On the plus side, the book excels at providing inspirational, really deep psychological insights that encourage real emotional healing. The chapters are incredibly easy to read, and they're absolutely packed with practical mindset shifts. But on the flip side, some readers might find that certain ideas are repeated a bit too often throughout the text. And because the book is highly reflective, it can occasionally feel a bit abstract. Honestly, if you're looking for a rigid 10-step checklist to organize your daily schedule, this book's philosophical tone might just frustrate you.
Taking everything into account, the final verdict for The Mountain Is You is a stellar 9 out of 10. It really stands out, not just as a book about achieving success, but as an incredibly powerful reminder that our greatest barriers are almost always internal. Climbing your own mountain is a truly challenging journey, but by understanding your self-sabotage and committing to those daily habits, it is a deeply, deeply rewarding one. As we wrap up this explainer, I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. But before you go, I want to leave you with this one question to really chew on. If your current self-sabotaging behavior is actually just a bodyguard trying to protect you, what exactly is it protecting you from? Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.